Hey guys, you can't see me right now because we're at a deer farm here, and Renee's being followed by a whole bunch of deer. I'm hoping that you're going to see me on the show momentarily. I can't promise anything because I'm not sure about the Wi-Fi, and frankly, I can't be certain that these deers haven't devoured me and or Renee in the process. So hopefully I'm still married after this, and hopefully we're both still alive after this. And hopefully I'm on the show after this. It's time for Only Weird Games.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
I made it. We all made it. I'm here, and I only had maybe a dozen deer try to eat my jacket today. Welcome to Only Weird Games. I'm in a motel in Arizona. Seth and Nate are where they're supposed to be, generally speaking, and we're all going handheld today, which is also a real twist on the format. Fellas, how you doing?
So, which deer kissed Renee first, and how did it make you feel?
So what actually, hey, Renee, can I get a real quick thumbs up, thumbs down on what actually happened in that video at the end there that Nate has asked a question? Can I go ahead and disclose? Renee's right over there.
What
I don't
an interesting
know.
concept to ask your significant other before you talk about her on the show.
Sometimes, you know, you can learn from the Padawan. I think it on occasion. The last sort of Renee act in that video, Nate, was one of the deer biting her fully on the butt cheek.
Oh,
and so that deer, that deer did have to die.
Okay,
So that
yes.
I was removed from the deer farm shortly thereafter, but I had to. I mean, what would I have been? You know, they were clearly fawning all over.
This is for people who've only watched Shogun since it came out. But did that deer enjoy its bite before it went full seppuku?
I have not seen Shogun, but I made sure that the final moments of that deer's no deer were harmed in the making of that video.
Come on.
Yeah.
No,
Butts and jackets were harmed in the making of that trip today. But
the deer looked in my eye. I looked in the deer eye. He pulled out his samurai sword, and then he showed me in great detail his guts. And then another deer was his second and chopped his head off, you know, because you can't seppuku without a second, is what I've learned.
I gotta watch Shogun.
It's so good, Josh. I can't. It's in one season they've done what television shows dream of. But yeah, and I'm not sort of obviously giving away much because there's a lot of samurai swords in this thing, and it's awesome. So, you know, hey, if the ocean's gonna get you, pull out the samurai sword and say, "Nope, I'll take it from here."
Seth, how you doing?
So,
You know-
so basically, what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is this is mean.
Oh no.
This is really mean. If you haven't noticed, there have been news reports, literal news reports that Josh has responded to about the Buffalo Bills taking down the Vince Lombardi Trophy
banner
that they have yet to earn actually on the field in their practice facility, in their indoor practice fields. Like they've taken the Vince Lombardi Trophy off the Buffalo Bills banner. And that is essentially, hey, somebody chop my head off, because we haven't. I have not accomplished what fate has brought me here, and I am ready to not fall on the sword. I'm ready for the sword to chop my head off.
For all the analogies you could have picked there, Nate, I can think of several worse ones. So I'm going to say good job on that.
Thank you. Whew. It's a show. It's got me. And yeah, you know, it's I'm glad to see that out of honor, out of respect, out of falling out of procedure, that deer said, Renee's buttocks was so tempting, I must kill myself now. And we're full circle. So about the Kansas City Chiefs' first OTA practice available to reporters.
Yeah.
Chiefs speak to the media is quite a phrase there, Tucker. You're doing a lot. Would you like me to explain
Seth,
more?
how's it going? Seth, your mic on?
Who knows? But I'm doing fine, Josh. Thank you for asking.
It's good to see you guys. I watched the last episode on the train. I thought Tucker did a great job. I think he also got a full experience. I appreciated that
Yes, he
neither of you were in any way nicer to Tucker than you would have been to me, making sure that he fully felt the heat of that performance. I don't know how to segue out of what Nate just did, but
I got you.
Go ahead.
What
Renee
you
just left, actually. She's on the way back to the deer farm.
What you
Another one?
kind of a Stockholm syndrome situation here, huh?
Ball. I mean, come on.
So
Beauty is get in the
have
guy.
never mind. So
Stupid.
what you need is a blue healer because
Don't say we need more dogs, Seth.
Well, Kiko won't stop chasing deer. And dang near caught one. Like, she's really fast. And that actually happened to Jazz on her walk today. So I think it's an epidemic. A deer was approaching, and Kiko says, "Hey, the only thing that bites this person's butt is me." So she chased the deer and then eventually gave up, apparently. I'm curious if she got close enough. She's like, "Man, I'm a pretty small healer, and that's a pretty big deer." But that's what you need. I'm sure the deer farm owners would really appreciate it if you brought a dog in there to run those deer for a while. But no, it was good. Yeah, but no, the deer are coming for us. I don't know if you ever saw The Ring 2, but they one of the funniest videos I've ever seen was this is something that happens in rural Midwest, is a cross country meet. And all of them are running, and then like this herd of deer starts running across it, and you hear people yelling, "Watch out for the deer!" And then right at that moment, one of those deer just cannons into a kid, and you hear every parent go, "Ooh!" Like it was so bad that it wasn't like he was like, "Oh," but it was like, like, and people just don't realize how strong deer actually are, until they bite you on the butt cheek.
And as you established, I apparently don't have that particular dog in me, so I did nothing to stop that interaction. All right, fine. Go ahead. Let's shift down. Here's a true, honest thing for you to know and for the listeners now. This is on the low end of shows I have felt properly prepared for, because we have been out through New Mexico and Arizona. I was not live for the press conferences. I have seen many clips. I have not read Seth's story that we're going to talk about later today because it came out earlier and then I was driving. So I've been seeing, is Harrison Butker in the news for something, Nate? I keep seeing his name pop up. Here's the true thing that does happen. Going around the Southwest, and people go, "Oh, you're from Kansas City? Oh, that's great. Oh, well, Chiefs fans. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's a good time to be a Chiefs fan. Oh, yeah. So you're a kicker." That's happened no less than half a dozen times, dead honest.
Wow.
So that is sort of the opener. But we did hear from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, both on Harrison Butker, on Rashee Rice, on what has been a very busy offseason. Nate, did anybody get asked about Wanya Morris and Drew Godric? Did that ever come up?
No, it did cross my mind to be like, Andy, where were you when you learned about Wanya smoking weed?
What was the first sentence out of your mouth?
Excuse me, when you were told he was in possession of marijuana. That's right. Yeah, excuse me. Johnson County would like me to inform you that he had weed on him in Johnson County
in Kansas.
I mean, how can we properly have a good time in the suburbs if a grown man has paraphernalia with him?
It's unacceptable, frankly.
Unacceptable. So, Andy,
I'm glad you did not take that burden upon yourself. That is such a very clearly lower level offense. If you're going legal conversation topic, if we're just going meta conversation, it just hit me that like most OTAs, that would be a thing that you ask, and hope he learns from it, whatever. But with all of that precursor being said, Nate, you were there in the room asking some of the follow-ups throughout all of that. We can decide how far you want to go into it at all, but I do think that you being there throughout a media availability that's gotten a lot of coverage, I'm tickled to know what it was like in the room there.
It was interesting because it was like, okay, it's half going through the motions, half All right, let me describe it this way: a quarter of it going through the motions, a quarter of it being procedural, another quarter of like, all right, now this is just performance art to some degree, and then there's another quarter of like, are we gonna get anything here? Is there actually, are we actually gonna gain anything in terms of the question response that a news conference gives you? So Andy Reid was pretty I would say odd at times. I'm gonna explain here in a little bit some of his thought process that has really been a feature of his career that maybe some people don't quite recognize or realize when it comes to like off the field stuff, or just how he wants to present himself publicly on behalf of his players, whether they are in a legal situation, whether they're struggling on the field, or just obviously the day-to-day stuff on the field. But it was not as eventful as I maybe thought it could be. But you understand that this was our first real opportunity to see the football team on the field, and then ask them things that have nothing to do about football. So it's almost counterproductive from the moment you enter that room and we actually do start the press conference. And I understand that for a sizable portion of the audience, of readers, obviously listeners and viewers here, you might not care about that stuff. You might want to say, I want to learn more about the actual 2024 version of the Chiefs right now. But we've all acknowledged that this has been literally the weirdest offseason collectively that I think I've covered so far in my 7 years now, where it just wasn't one person or one issue. It's gone from offense to special teams. Weirdly, no one on defense has done anything. So, hey, congrats to them. But the actual news to some degree is more pertinent to the off the field stuff. So you have to get through that before you can actually get back to what is the normal customary thing to do, which is discuss where the football team is as it stands right now, knowing it's still pretty early in the OTA period.
So with that as the precursor of here's how the press conferences work and the trade-off of all of that, because you're right, it's bizarre, but oh, there's the head coach of the football team. This football team has been the main story throughout the offseason of the NFL and throughout a ton of sports over the last couple of months.
Yep.
I would like to ask about Hollywood Brown, but also your kicker has made international news over the course of these last couple of weeks. Anything from within the back and forth or the response from either of those guys? You can lump the Rashee Rice thing in as well. We've heard a little bit of Rashee Rice feedback from them. It was before the nightclub thing, but now the nightclub thing, as you guys broke down on Tuesday, that feels like a lesser deal at this point, as unideal as it is regardless.
Right.
So anything that you thought was a noteworthy takeaway from the Butker or Rice side of things, specifically hearing from Reid and Mahomes?
I think the most substantive quote that you could hold on to that is legitimate before we get to the performance theater that I'm going to sort of reveal is what Patrick said about Rashee Rice. And I'm going to quote it here from my story because I thought it was the most human and most measured way of saying things without feeling like you have to be coached because your kicker said he thinks women should, be proud to procreate and be subservient. End quote. Yes, Seth, go ahead.
That's not an actual quote.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to say anything else. But I mean, I don't want to add to the
overall
to the cacophony of hey, he said he actually wishes that that one show where the women dress in red with him. He said he wishes that was real life. I can't believe he said that. And then he walked into the audience and punched a woman in the face because she was wearing pants. That's not what happened. I know you're being facetious.
Yes, you're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I have set the flame.
Such a fish. You just
I
set
got
the
him.
hook.
We got him.
It didn't even take more than one. You didn't even jig the line.
Got
you threw it in. And you didn't even have to move it. And I just glommed onto that like a big, stupid fish.
I paused and stared right at you. I was like, you want to take this bait? You want to take this bait real quick?
I am putting this microphone away from me. You're such a dink.
Thank you.
I love you, man. You're one of my favorite people.
So after Harrison Butker said he didn't think
too.
women should be allowed into Arrowhead without an accompanying man, what was the... Seth, your thoughts?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're mostly here to entertain and joke, and then we'll get to the information and informative stuff. We go back and forth. We've been doing this for quite a while. Here's what Patrick Mahomes said that I thought was something you could actually take away. Quote, "We're just trying to do whatever we can to teach him how to learn from his mistakes." Obviously, that was a big mistake in reference to the multi-vehicle accident on Easter weekend, leading to 8, charges. Continuing his quote, "You have to learn from it and make sure it doesn't happen again, and try to do whatever you can to be the best person you can be in society. Not only for yourself, but this is the key point, but for other people around you," which no one has actually said in a Chiefs context so far. Not even Clark Hunt, not Andy Reid. It was Patrick Mahomes that says, hey, he needs to learn this not just for himself, but for people around him and people that he could cause, pretty significant damage to. And he finishes by saying, quote, "I think we're doing that," I think Rice is doing that right now. We're going to keep trying to do whatever we can to get him on the right path so that he can be a great football player, obviously, and a great person too. It got no play, I think, nationally, but that was the most interesting, and I think teammate to teammate, the most important quote we got yesterday from Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes about Rashee Rice, before we get to what I think was more performance art when it does come to the disagreement of Harrison Butker.
That's a really good quote. It's the summary of that. Which, by the way, how good is Patrick Mahomes at all this? Like,
better than most.
Yeah. I mean, it is freakish how good he is at these things. Including, like, I really like that you noted that he added in there, it's not just for your own good, but a paraphrasing of that is to quote Tammy Taylor, the wife of the legendary Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights. "We don't want you to grow up stupid. It's bad for the world." It is. It is bad for the world if you grow up stupid. And you could almost, like, not just answering questions there, but you can almost hear like a gentle but real call out to a teammate, like, "Hey man, I'm calling you out. Like, you gonna do better?" Like, and that's an interesting thing to do it publicly, but do it in a way that's like, "I was just talking to the media." It's like him counting to 4, in front of I was just kind of counting to 4. I don't really know what I meant by that. It's hard to say.
You know what? It's also not, and this is all kind of, again, coming together as we're just chatting about it. But it's also not just saying, do what you need to do to not be a distraction, because that has always, to me, been kind of the lowest common denominator of any, like, don't do stuff off the field.
Right.
Interestingly, I don't know if Andy Reid ever used that word about Harrison Butker. But, like,
he did not.
Look at the Chiefs, like, Instagram comments or whatever, and it's a distraction. I mean, it is distracting around. But that, to me, always feels, regardless of if not saying it about Butker yesterday, it always feels like the lowest level rebuke of just like, hey, just whatever you can do whatever you, it's not what Andy Reid means when he says it, but do whatever you want in darkness and in quiet and away from the team. As long as you're not distracting from the team, anything's fine, Yeah.
And
if you're going to be the Joker, be dark and be the Joker.
Just let us find out and stop your playing career or whatever, right? Like, again, that's my exaggeration of today's show. And the contrast there is Mahomes saying, like, hey, for you and for the people around you, both your loved ones and, like, strangers you may impact, it's acknowledging a little bit of the humanity and empathy within all of it, which, Nate, I think is the reason it didn't get any national play.
Oh, come on, man. We got to be better at this, people. We got to be better at this job. We got to be so much better. I'm criticizing my own elk my own peers.
I saw an
you
elk
know?
today.
Hey.
Oh, you said never mind.
Yep. So
Did that bite Renee's buttocks? Because let me just say, they are huge.
No, we stayed away from the elk. They were
Yeah.
not petable.
Now here's me breaking it down, guys. And I love this because it's media literacy. I love being teachable for these things, and I'm trying to come from a very objective standpoint. So this really doesn't deal with me and my personal opinions or whatever. Although some people asked for that yesterday, and I was like, I mean, guys, it's called Only Weird Games. It's on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4:30 Central Time. You can want to give it a click, want to give it a download.
It starts at 4:30.
I mean, thanks. Shout out to Casey Sager, but I was like, Casey, just refer them to Only Weird Games. They'll know plenty of what I think.
They're gonna know stuff about us they wish they didn't know.
Right. While also being able to do my job pretty well, I think, for the most part. When it comes to
That's like the tagline for the show. You're gonna learn way more about these guys than you'd like to know, but they pretty much do their jobs for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. In a professional
local paper company,
manner.
Dunder Mifflin, apologizes to valued
customers.
Sorry.
Okay, Raphael. 4:40, 4:45. I'll be honest. Tuesdays and Thursdays, come holler at us. So thank you, Raphael.
You get accountability in our comments.
We
like
really
no
do.
other, and we appreciate that, guys. just immediate accountability.
Just
for when?
Clarification, just a little bit of an accounting issue. It's technically like 4:40-ish. I think that's what we officially put down. Everybody knows it's usually 4:45. So it's of interest that Harrison Butker's comments, as Seth has said, has gained a massive amount of traffic.
Cacophony.
Whether you think that's good and bad, needless to say, who cares? This is just the facts. So with that comes a lot of interest. And as we've learned from Josh today, he can't go across state lines without being asked about the kicker anytime the Chiefs are mentioned, or just the city of Kansas City. So that tells you from a news judgment standpoint that it is of interest. These are people who work together. He said something that no other football player has said in quite some time, whether you agree with it or not. So therefore, it is news to a degree. It is our part as the media to ask as best we can, and you could always say we could do better, because of course we are. We're human beings. We could do this so much better, but we try our best to ask Andy Reid thought-provoking questions so that he can give thought-provoking answers that can lead to some understanding for everyone, reporters, fans, people of interest who are not typically involved in sports but just want to learn more. Obviously, our job is to inform. So there could always be some infighting or some disagreements in the locker room. That's nothing new. But the issue is that what I feel is so ironic is that these guys are paid to perform at such a high level at one of the hardest jobs when you really consider what they're trying to accomplish in a violent sport where the other team is working just as hard to beat you. And a lot of times we turn these press conferences into performances themselves. So Andy Reid chose yesterday to say, hey, we're in America. He can say whatever he wants. Do you agree with what he says? I didn't say that. Do you think you would, there was a question that was posed, well, is there any concern based on his comments that it might make women, and there are a lot of women who work for the Chiefs in the organization, could it make them uncomfortable? Do you have to talk to Harrison, or is there some level of confusion as to who their coworker is based on what he said in the press conference? Andrew Reid says no. Yeah.
To hop ahead of several comments is also a thing that can and should be asked whenever you have a player. I'm not picking anything in particular from the Chiefs, but just throughout the NFL. When you have a player with domestic violence incidents in their recent past or present or whatever it is that's going on, also a type of thing you probably should be asking about. Yeah.
And so Andy Reid says, no, that's not an issue. That's his answer. That's his prerogative. Whether you agree with it or not, that is his answer. At one point, I asked Andy Reid, hey, what do you want to see more from Rashid Rice this year compared to where we were last year? And he literally was like, you mean football? And I was like, yeah, that's my job.
That is the most this Chiefs offseason thing ever.
Yes.
Talking in terms of football, right? Because in terms of life, I've actually prepared a list for this occasion, and he's just like, but no.
So sometimes you even throw curveballs where I'm like, yes, coach, yes. Like
Yeah.
he practiced today, yes. What would you like him to do differently or more or whatever? Just a usual question to coach. But also, it gets to Patrick Mahomes, and I think this is where the issue comes into play, or the more fascinating part, I should say. It's not necessarily an issue, but the fascinating part is, okay, Andy Reid says, let me be football coach. Let me not do anything, but I got one for him.
Yeah.
And technically, well, let me just say what he says. He says to us in some back and forth, he's like, you don't have to like his opinion. That's his opinion. Sometimes I don't like y'all's opinion. And, does the grandfather like stare down, and we all go like we've never seen it before, because we all have. So, I mean, thanks, coach. But also like, okay, fine, whatever. But he says,
Also not my boss.
Yeah. And this is where he says, I let you guys in this room and I don't like some of you all's opinions. And I'm like, sounds good. Sounds hard. Sounds like a bar. It's not accurate. Yeah. And so that's where the performance art comes into play, where it's like, well, can we just get to like how you honestly feel versus like trying to like come back at us? Because no matter, usually the case, I shouldn't say in absolutes, but most of the time, Andy Reid will do his best to protect his players above anything you ask him. And he would say the same thing to a common fan, just as much as he would say it to us who are credentialed reporters who are been given access to cover the team, not through Andy Reid, but, through the actual team in the National Football League. And, the reason we're also in the room too is because we're employed by actual news organizations. So it sounds good and it sounds cool. Sounds like a bar, sounds like a little get back, and that's fine. And coaches do it all the time. And then it's our job as reporters to try to, okay, can we bring it back to the rails? Can we bring it back to some form of path so I can get, again, some level of truth, honesty, information, honestly, to just say, how are you going to handle this? I think most people wanted to come in here, how is Andy Reid handling all of this? Josh, did we get that answer in its entirety?
With noting my own limited sample size of bits and pieces again, no, I think what we got was a version of Andy Reid that I don't know that it is, but that seems defensive in that mode.
Yeah.
And it's not like Andy Reid's best forward facing like a posture to give. Like he didn't need to seem defensive about it. But no, I don't know if we got
from the head coach of the football
team real from Andy Reid. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
right.
And frankly, that if we didn't, that was not by accident. Andy Reid would
that's his
much
choice.
rather do the thing that is to say, I am here, my players are back there, I will pickleball these back at you over and over, and we'll play this for 15 minutes, and then I'll go talk to him in there.
Yeah, so that's his choice, and he chose to do that. He's very he's very protective of Harrison Butker, just as he is of Rashee Rice, just as he is of Patrick Mahomes. That's what he's been over the course of being an NFL head coach for almost 30 years now. And I just want people to understand that's where he's coming through based on the analysis and just being around him for years in these type of settings. From a second standpoint, Patrick Mahomes comes out and says, I don't want to say that. I want you to know that my thoughts on this are as measured as they can be. I disagree with Harrison Butker. So now that he has told us this, there's really only one question to ask, which I chose to ask, which is, Seth, what does he disagree with? Because you haven't given us specifics, yet you want to make it very clear that although you call Harrison Butker a close friend, and I know that's true in its entirety, if you're going to be willing to share that you disagree with this, what about it do you disagree with so that people can better understand your perspective on the said matter? And he chose not to give specifics, which again is his prerogative. So
It was a very press conference.
Yeah.
Yes. That is a very press conference. I think I might have something to add on it that'll take 2 seconds. That
Sure.
allows us to get to the football stuff.
Let's
Just
do
acknowledge
it.
this would be the funniest possible time for me to throw it a break, but I'm not gonna do it
That would be incredible.
because I
So-
don't know how many shows it would take for us to regain trust, not in the show, in each other as friends.
Yeah, just in life in general. Seth, come meet me at Char Bar.
I think I could get a text after that one. if
Are
I
you
get a text.
sure?
So go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
someone made a really good comment that I think that, people are talking about Andy Reid rather than Harrison Butker because of his response. It's probably a little bit of what he was shooting for.
Oh, by the way, the Chiefs are not going to give us Harrison Butker until maybe training camp. Maybe.
I'd be interested. I know what I would do if I were him.
So, by the way, it puts
But-
his teammates, it puts his coach in an awkward position because
Yeah.
he is not allowed to speak to reporters to get further clarification if he wants about what he said at his own commencement speech. So,
Right.
it puts everybody in an odd situation. It's not like, hey, after the game, you drop
He's
the
gonna
ball
smoke-
and we could
He's gonna
we could
smoke
watch
like
you.
4 game winners in the first 4
Please
weeks,
don't.
and we're still not gonna hear a thing from him.
Please
and it's gonna
don't.
be the funniest
No,
thing ever.
I have an immense amount of respect, and I actually talked to this to Courtney Cronin, who flew in from ESPN yesterday from Chicago. I tried to be very specific with her, and I love Courtney, and she was coming in just sort of like, hey, let me get a better understanding before I enter this fray. But it's like I have an immense amount of respect for Harrison Butker because he answers every question, and I never feel like it's performance art. Never. I feel like that's truly how he feels. He obviously references the Lord quite a bit. Where he stands on abortion, which he's been very public about as well. And when he has missed game-winning field goals or game-tying field goals, he has talked to us after the game, just as he would do, when he made the game-winning field goal in Super Bowl. What is it now? 57, 58.
They've won so many Super Bowls, guys.
Super Bowls. Yeah. I think when he
Awesome.
made the game when he field goal in Super Bowl 57, but he was very open to talking to us about, man, I almost smoked the division today when they barely beat the Houston Texans in a regular season game in overtime because he missed a potential game-winning field goal that forced overtime instead of a game winner. So I always have a immense amount of respect for him. He's very technical. He walks through everything, but we may not hear from him for some time because the team, because of its own prerogative, will not let him talk to us and talk about his own words and just where he is in the fray of all of this. To that point, Seth, where are you? What do you think is? Educate us, enlighten us, please.
There's a bunch of things that I could say regarding all of this. I think I'll say 2 things. One of them that's always kind of funny to me. And then the other thing that maybe gives people a little bit of insight, helps them move on from something someone said, I guess. Every time a celebrity says something that's political one way or the other,
Right.
because I have my foot in a bunch of different worlds. No one watching this has any doubts about my faith or could probably
Not true. We've gotten
Netflix-
comments that are hilarious.
Yeah, we've gotten comments that are hilarious. There's people, can assume certain things about what people believe stuff. But anytime someone makes comments on one thing or another thing that becomes either, whether you want to call it politicized or controversial or whatever, I just keep thinking back to that Dave Chappelle bit about Ja Rule in 9/11, where he's like, they're on CNN, be like, we're about to go on to talk to Ja Rule about this tragedy. Here's Ja. And Dave Chappelle's like, why? I don't want to dance. I'm scared to death. Like, I don't, why? Was anyone like, what is Ja? Yeah, where's Ja? What is Ja? And anytime I have someone, because I've had people DM me asking me about stuff. I've had people ask me on Twitter. I've had people email me like, what do you think this is this? And my initial question to someone is, why do you care what I think? Like, I watch football. I study the tape, and I try to have a certain amount of expertise or whatever you want to call it, I guess, in that. And I put a lot of work into that. don't assume because I do that and you trust my opinion on that you should trust my opinion on literally anything else. You don't know how much work I put into this. For all you know, I'm a terrible lawyer. Now, I'd like to think I'm not. But, man, I hope none of the judges in my district are watching this. But one of them's going to comment, I can confirm he is.
Hey, Josh, look, I noticed you've been off your game lately. You haven't really interrupted Seth with a break. I just wonder, out of curiosity, is that because of your own comments at the commencement speech that you gave in front of people? That's what I'm not supposed to do in the season, guys.
Yes.
What I'm not supposed to do in the locker room is go, tough loss, man. I think it was about the comments.
Yeah. Remember back in May? When you were talking to some people? And I've actually got the transcript still here. I carry it around in case I run into you. But here's the second thing. Just whatever. This is all we could do a literal 5-hour podcast where we kick around a myriad of different things about stuff. How's that? And we wouldn't even scratch the surface of any of it. Here's what I will tell people that listen to this. Josh, Nate, and myself have any number of things that we strongly disagree about. And I love Josh and Nate more than I love the vast majority of people in my life. And just, that's okay. It's okay. It's going to be all right. And I do think that's at least a sideways thing of what Reid, while he was doing a little performative stuff too, is like, people that are thinking, that this is going to be, this is going to divide the team. Let me just be the first to tell you.
Oh, I've seen things that have divided teams, kids.
Yeah. There are things that divide teams. This is probably not. Yeah,
you want to talk about division?
Someone just asked me in the comments, Seth, would you like to give specifics on those things? Thank you for asking. I would not. And so I don't know. That part did resonate with me because one thing I really appreciate about you guys is how differently your life experience, your education, your everything causes you to see the world differently than I do. And it's helped me grow as a person. And I hope vice versa. I mean, I can't imagine it did vice versa, but maybe it did occasionally, to where you guys have something to say, or I'm like, hadn't thought about that before.
Right.
And then I think about it. And usually if it's Josh, I'm like, well, no, that's wrong. But,
right.
I think about it for a minute. And I literally don't have anything else to say now that Nate which by the way was a masterclass in getting me to keep my mouth shut. It's just grabbed me right out of the gate and just dragged me across the pond. And after that, I was like, I'm tired.
Look, he said women's life are meaningless because, they have a degree now. Kids, find the jokes in all of this. It's
great.
Okay.
I think what Seth said is great and all-encompassing, and when I go make a public speech about how you can't be a good Christian while also being a lawyer, I think he'll feel the same way.
Right, exactly. You can't be beholden to man's laws.
But, you can't be beholden to man's laws. But, I mean, Josh, you can probably think of at least one thing I've said to you that's caused you to rethink where you're coming from on things, right?
Yeah, I've talked about it. I've told you about this before. At one point, we're having a conversation about something, and you said,
let's take a break.
Don't assume that I'm an idiot.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Grayson.
Now it feels like a good time for me to unpack all the things about what Seth just said that I thought were bullshit. So starting with point A, if we do put athletes on a pedestal, like Patrick Mahomes talks, we listen.
Yeah. Grayson asks, can we talk about Nate's? So I gotta ask, what is it you disagree with? To Patrick. And real quick, Grayson, that's the job. To get specifics, to get as much information as I can. Patrick knows this. We made eye contact. He saw what was coming out of the pitcher's hand. He chose it again. I'm not doing it like out of maliciousness or,
especially
I hate follow-up questions. They're for clarification. It's things that reporters are paid to do.
Right. It's
even when and especially when it's uncomfortable.
Right. And again, I just tried to ask it as quick as I could so we could keep these things moving. But also, I was legitimately wondering which part because
fully
obviously
knowing that he was not going to answer that question. Like
you never know. You never know.
That's, you know what? Good point. Thinking he probably wouldn't, but that's the difference between your job and my job. My job,
Right.
I'm never supposed to ask a question I don't know the answer to.
Right.
Your job, even if you don't know, you got to ask.
Yeah. Even if you think it could go a certain way, you know, assuming can get you into some certain places. And so look, I try to do these things respectful. You could disagree with it. That, you know, obviously that's understandable, but that's, you know, for Grace's question, that's why. Because I was legitimately interested. And PJ Green brought this up in the press conference too, like the unusual timing of this because of Patrick Mahomes' speech during Time 100, obviously promoting the growth of women's sports, and obviously Harrison Butker's comments, you know, could be somewhat construed as a polar opposite of what Patrick just said in a public manner as well. So, you know, you try to, you know, when we ask Pat, you know, because this is gonna happen later on. Hey man, coach said he wants more deep balls. I'm looking at the stats here. It ain't that hot. Why isn't it working out? You know, or what about it are you not pleased with the deep ball? Now, I gotta tell you, kids, that man can still throw the ball over the moon into perfect hand placement. Poor Deion Bush, time and time yesterday, got absolutely worked, even though he was in proper coverage position. So, you know, yeah, man, it's
By whomst?
it's pretty great. It's pretty great. I've lost my train of thought. Let's not talk about Palestinians right now. Let's not do that. Thank you guys. Yeah, let's go.
That was the moment that Tucker moved the rundown down to Reid wants more deep shots.
Deep balls. Now these balls were deep. They were electric and scintillating. Don't you shake my head, Seth, because I also told Courtney Cronin, no, it's worth the trip. No. Even if it goes horrible in the press conference room, that man over there gonna do something that was worth getting out of bed, getting in your car, taking your car to the airport, getting on a flight, and staying here for a night, and then coming here to see this.
We got the social clip that we were promised, except for instead of it being Xavier Worthy, it was Hollywood Brown. We got the clip.
Yeah,
we're back, baby.
And you know,
I missed that one.
Yeah, there's one clip where it's not really a clip because it doesn't exist because it was during team period, and put those cameras down, even though they're in shorts and half these guys might not be on the team. But there was one deep pass out of a funky formation, Seth, out of a very interesting formation that if I said anything else, maybe he wouldn't let me back in the room.
That's like the one cardinal sin, right? Like, I've had people ask me before, like, Seth, couldn't you get yourself back in that press room that you were at, like, you know, a whole 2 times? I think I went with you, Nate, maybe 3.
Like 2 or 3, yeah. It might have been 3, yeah.
And then the Chiefs were like, a website? Like, is that...
Listen, everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. In my opinion, your newsletter's not real.
Yeah, you have you mean a blog because it's online?
No.
You're not here for the you know, the Pura Minnesota Gazette. You're here on a website. So
people read that?
Yeah. And so here's the deal. Even if I were to get into that room every day, I would literally never be able to ask any of the questions I would want to ask because the look I would get. She'd be like, you know, Andy, I know it's even something ridiculously simple. Like, you know, Andy, it seems like you guys are using a lot of 13 personnel to counter some of the shell looks that you're getting, especially with quarters. Yep. Is that kind of in counter to that? The look I would.
And to get some free releases, right? Right.
So those who are watching, Josh just did the poison dart bit, and it would be about that fast. It would just be like, wow, it's so weird. Like suddenly there was, you know, some kind of DMCA takedown on my Substack. That's
a
weird.
cease and desist. What?
Yeah, a cease and desist. You know, the
website would
that's the
just
one
have
sin.
one JPEG there that would just be a black and white photo of you. It would just say Seth Keysor 1950 or whatever to 2024.
Seth, I don't know what kind of technology they have, but I could potentially get the marker to the whiteboard. It's just I don't know what will happen to my body if I actually draw out the formation because it was. I mean, yeah. There was the pit is blue.
Nate, just with your eyes, with your eyes, was Jared Wiley involved? Oh, I don't even know what that means. That's how good he is at this. I think he was involved.
So look, I want to draw up the formation.
No, I would.
Then, like,
I'm
Mission
dead serious.
Impossible.
I would not ask a second question. I would not ask a second follow up.
Will explode in 10 seconds is what I need to happen. But I could ask him about Harrison Butker. I could ask him about Rasheed Rice. I mean, Wanye's kind of down the list.
I would rather ask Andy Reid what he would order at Lit Kitchen than I would to ask him about a unique personnel grouping that I saw in the practice field.
But I could ask him about this formation that they're just trying for. Like, is it for giggles? I don't know, but it was kind of cool. But he says he lets me in the room, and he might not let me in the room. But if I ask about a formation, it's not on tape in front of millions of people. So I mean,
that's
maybe
like,
training camp when there's thousands.
Yeah, that play that happened in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl that 100 million people saw live.
Can you break that down, Coach?
That 150 million people saw live. You know that? I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, okay.
Meanwhile, do you see the Rams schedule reveal with Sean McVay, where the guy, the Rams employee, was like, "All right, so Puka Nakua's first ever NFL catch. What was the play call?" And McVay's like, "Oh yeah, that was XY banana slant, 42-59 curl.
Yeah.
I think there was about 4:32 left in the second quarter against the Niners." It's like, what? Come on, man.
Unbelievable.
His brain is weird. There's something else going. Like, that's crazy.
He's incredible. Jared Wiley looks the part. Xavier Worthy, he's fine. No,
hold on, Nate Tucker. Can you go down to the Worthy out of practice? Go down to that slide, and then now, Nate Xavier Worthy wasn't out there by the end of OTAs. How's he going to be?
Tweaked hamstring. He'll be fine. I actually saw he didn't have a helmet. He didn't have cleats on, but I did notice that he was kind of like just like he a rookie. He just like, but I kind of want to
put a little squinty in just to
the way he's throwing the football. Can I get out there? And they're like, no.
Sure.
It's
so
May 22nd, you bozo, sit down. And he's like, but I want to go. I want to move. So they're like,
I do.
You just tweaked your hamstring.
So there's nothing. Reid is always really, really, really careful during OTAs in terms of holding people out. From what I've seen, it's like, okay, your hamstring's tweaked. No, you can't practice. Xavier, stop jumping up and down while you're watching. Knock it off. All right. I need you to take a mental rep and just watch the play. Hold still.
It's got to be like a shark, though, right? Like sharks are always in motion. Like if you run a 4.0 40 or whatever it was, like I think it's dangerous for him not to be moving. I think he could pull a hamstring laying down.
Right. So the only clip that I saw the Chiefs were authorized to put in front of us.
I saw two, and I can't wait to hear which one you saw, so I can tell you the other one.
Okay, the one that I saw that was a real clip that was authorized is Isaiah. It's May 22nd. It's me. No, this is me every day, all day. Every day I be running like I was trying to. I don't know. You went to the blank. I was like, it's a swing pattern against air. Why are you running so hard? This what I do.
The other two clips I saw for the trifecta is so perfect. You got Pacheco. I haven't seen it, but I saw them tweet about that. Yeah. And then there was a deep shot to Hollywood Brown that was like, all right, that fulfills Seth's prophecy. And the other one, little swing pass to Red Zone Louis.
Oh,
It was just 9 Reese Zemet on the back of the jersey going up behind him a little bit. I don't know if it was Carson Wentz or somebody else throwing football. I don't remember.
It was Carson Wentz. Yeah.
Was he? Is he wearing number 2 now? Is he single digits? I
No,
can't remember.
two is Ian Book. Excuse me.
It may have been Ian Book. Ian Book may have thrown a pass. See that right there,
Really?
folks? That's OTAs because I think it may have been Ian Book to Luis Reese Zemet, and it's like, oh yes, football's here.
Thanks for getting through the first 35 minutes with us, guys. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but Luis Reese Zemet was on the field at the same time as Carson Wentz. Take that what you will.
All right, I'll take it. You know, I'm gonna take it.
You want me to give you another personnel grouping?
I am.
Wanye Morris was.
Oh no, Nate, don't do it. I think
Wanye Morris was.
I think the incumbent. I think the first team incumbent probably.
He was left tackle 1. Okay,
get
away from me.
That makes sense. We could have divined that without knowing it. Chiefs, taser holders / tranquilizer users.
Let's do it for the audio and the visual audience. Josh asked me about both left tackles.
Can you close your blinds just so they don't have a clear line of sight on you?
Yeah, I think I've seen horror movies start like this.
Guys,
we just we're gonna see someone's head pop out in that window, just staring.
Nate,
and
I
he's
hate
not
to.
gonna know. We're
Yeah,
gonna try
what?
to warn
I'm
him.
sorry,
I
what?
hate to nitpick like this, but you've got a little. I think you got a little pimple on your cheek. Oh no, hold on, it just moved. You got a red. Nate, you got to get out. Nate, you got to go.
Go.
Go to the basement.
Ask me about the left tackles. Let's do noises for the first OTA period.
Without pads on. Everyone.
With the possession of marijuana in Johnson County.
Mr. Taylor, professional reporter.
Yes.
Second team offensive line. A lot of people are asking a lot of questions about. The Chiefs drafted a lot of rookie offensive linemen.
Yeah, sure.
If you were gonna think, right tackle, right guard, center, left guard. I mean, those whatever. I guess just left tackle, second team. You see Kingsley out there? I don't know at this point who the third team left tackle is on the roster, because Prince isn't on the roster anymore.
Correct.
And so maybe Kingsley is just gonna. He was the odd man out of the absolutely ridiculous low level marijuana arrest.
Third.
I got the third team.
Could you, Nate? Could you say?
Nate? My youngest kid is named Lucas.
Hey, Seth, does your son Lucas typically enjoy being on the right side of things?
I often with my kids, my son Lucas is often considered the third one up whenever we're running to the left.
Light it up.
Nate, would you say, Seth, if you need to cover your ears for this, I understand. Nate, would you say that Seth's son Lucas might be higher than a god, Rick? I didn't mean higher than that way, but in retrospect, it did work, and I'll take it.
Yes. Dingo ring ling. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Good to know. Ian Book, ball jumping out of his hand. Nate, here's a question. Nate, here's one more auditory question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're out there at OTAs. You're looking around.
Mm-hmm.
You look over at that Kansas City Chiefs defense. Is that unit better than it was in 2023?
Quick clarification. No Chris Jones yesterday. Therefore, nah.
No, that's fair. That's totally fair. I think that is fair. Seth, I guess I'd ask you the same question. I'm gonna go ahead I'm going to fire up the URL here. I'm going to go to mnchiefsfan.substack.com and see. Oh, it appears you've written about this topic recently, Mr. Keysor.
Hey, D-Mac, how dare you ask me who the starting left guard was when he was clearly
Joe's not out there yet, right?
Yeah, he was clearly number 6. Go ahead.
Brian Cook? What?
That guy, he did look like he's built a little bit more.
Brian
like
Cook looked great.
No, I'm just giving clues because he's got a 6 in his number.
Yeah.
Got Hunter
there's definitely a
Norzad
six
starting
there.
left guard. Is that where we're at?
Stop asking me questions,
Sorry,
guys.
I'm not asking
I would
questions.
like to
I'm
be
not asking
put-
questions.
I would like to enter the room again, but he's got a 6 in his jersey.
No, I was asking Renee. She's over there still. I was
Okay.
asking if Hunter Norzad
Oh.
still wearing number 60.
Yeah. You know who had the first welcome to the league moment?
I thought Xavier Worthy did during rookie minicamp.
No, this is that too. But stop it.
First rookie moment.
Jaden Hicks. Maybe
I think
maybe
Jaden
get
Hicks
burned?
in open space against.
It was not. He did get criticized or two by Steve Spagnuolo yesterday. So he's
Rite
on
of
the
passage for a rookie DB.
he
That's
really
great.
is. He's on the
I'd be
Jamari
concerned if you
Connor.
were like Spags did not talk to Jaden Hicks.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh no.
No, he was in his ear quite a bit.
Good.
So the first welcome to the league moment was, I think, and again, this goes to the defensive question. CJ Hansen.
Who would he have? Did Furious George get a hold of him?
I'm not going to say who the defender was, or who the defensive lineman was, I should say, but he noticed how quickly he got beat. He did not want to embarrass himself any further. He bowed his head and he gave a high five to the teammate who welcomed him into the league. Again, in a non-padded practice.
Yes,
it happened.
It's hard to block
swiftly.
when you don't have pads to grab.
It was swift, and I saw it.
That's
CJ
gotta be Turk. That's gotta be Tershawn Wharton.
CJ hoped no one else saw him, but then his teammate looked him in the eye and he said, "Yeah, let me high five this man, because that was one hell of a rep."
Yep. When Tershawn Wharton wins a rep on the interior, and I'm not saying Nate said that. I'm assuming that. When Tershawn Wharton wins a rep in regular games with pads, it's always so impressive. He's got like one of those in him every game where you're like, is he going to be a superstar? Because he's so
Flubber
quick
right now. What's going on?
Yeah, he's so quick. Which, by the way, I mean Super Bowl hero Tershawn Wharton, who made the stuff on 2nd and 4 in overtime that forced 3rd and 4, which forced the throw, which forced the protection mishap, which forced the Chris Jones pressure, which forced the incompletion, that led to the field goal, that opened the door for the Chiefs to repeat as champions. Oh man, that was fun to say. That was nice.
It's almost like January or February again. Whoa, what happened?
Love it.
I don't like
but
this
yes, I
spring
did.
feeling.
I wrote about the
I've had to have
defensive.
2 jokes just go out into the Arizona air here today. It really is hurting me.
I did write about the defensive roster. Though,
What did you think, Seth? Spit it out.
I think what's really interesting is when you look at the
Are the defensive tackles better this year or last year?
I could cop. I literally. Well, here's what I wrote. Hang on. This is what I wrote after. So I divided up defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers, safeties, corners, because there's a lot of defensive linemen. And so I wrote about the defensive ends. Good Lord. Then I wrote about defensive tackles. And I said, because what I did is I named everyone in 2023, then named everyone in 2024. And I said, if you squinted and said, did Seth basically just copy paste the DT room after basically copy pasting the DE room? Then you should congratulate yourself on your keen insight, because it's the same picture. The man just went and got a tan and better lighting. That is the only thing that changed here in these, 90 days apart. It is the defensive line, for better or worse. It was a good defensive line last year, not a great one, a good one. Especially once Amenahu came into the fold. If I were to tell you, in the upcoming Chiefs season, the defensive line looks solid across the board if overly reliant on superstar Chris Jones and a pair of complementary pass rushers who can go inside, outside, who primarily win with power, but are good complementary guys. But they are going to be waiting on their other dude in the pass rush, who's also more of a power-based guy, who's better on the inside than the outside. I could literally be talking about 2023 or 2024. It's the same picture.
I can clarify. Is Mike Piniella part of the plan?
Lord. Oh yeah, is Mike that you would think that would help, wouldn't you?
Hey,
And
he was on the field yesterday. I'm just saying. I mean,
yeah, Big Mike. What are you
He was
doing,
a
Mike? This
voluntary
is not.
OTAs. That's
Has he
shocking.
learned
shocking.
nothing? How has this not become a conversation to him and Spags? Be like, dude, you saw what the Super Bowl last year. You want me to play 100 snaps total until the playoffs? That's what you want because I'm like 30 something. I'm a big dude. I'm going to get tired. But I mean, really, the defensive ends. One thing that's really interesting at the end last year, George Karlaftis played the large majority of the snaps. Mike Dana played Dana. Did he clarify this?
Nope.
Dang it. I'm gonna go with,
yes, he did. I'm not revealing it for you because I swear we.
It happened during the close. It happened during team period. And he walked over and he was like, "Nate, my last name is pronounced." And then Brad was like, "Nope."
Yeah, I mean,
after a quarter out of
guys,
think he
we
told
went
me this.
over this with Mike Dana. Signed a new contract.
I know. Look, one of the things that you and I disagree about is the fact that I think it's okay that I don't listen when other people talk, and you don't think it's okay, but yet we're still friends. So anyway, Dana, whatever it is, we'll never know. So George Karlaftis saw the vast majority of the snaps. Mike Dana saw the vast majority of the snaps. Charles Omenihu, once he came in, saw the vast majority of the snaps, which like, hey, defensive ends, how can 3 of them see the vast majority of the snaps? Well, because they rotate inside. After those, dude, it's like FAU get like 4 snaps, if that. There was those 3 guys. This year, you know who it's going to be? Karlaftis, Dana, Omenihu. But Seth, what are they going to do for the first half of the season? I don't know. And that's
even that's the same, Seth. Even that's the same between the first 2 years. It's played on Noah Minahu for 6 weeks or whatever.
It's the same picture. Now, the one thing last year is that Omenihu was coming back from a suspension. You could assume he would come back healthy.
You would think fresh legs mid-season.
Yeah, fresh legs. Whereas here, mid-season. ACLs are tough. And I know, look, Charles, I'm not doubting you. I'm not hating. Please don't talk about me on Twitter. I'm sure you're built different, man. I don't know.
What'd you say about me? What'd you say about me? What'd you say?
So
you said
defensive line.
You say I can't come back and be an impact player. You say I can't come back and get 10 sacks, double digits. You know what that means?
Okay, I got a great comment here from Thomas Lester. Omenihu is more effective at DE than DT. Come on, Seth. I can't help it that you're wrong, commenter. So here's the deal. He's more effective as a run defender on the edge. He sets the edge very well. He is a better... Stop it, Nate.
Why are you trying
he is a better pass rusher from the interior, similar to Mike Dana. He's a better pass rusher from the interior than he is the edge. He's got a more wide variety of moves, and his favorite kind of double-handed slap, it works better from the interior. He's a good pass rusher from the edge. Nate,
I blew my knee out? Did you see the AFC Championship game before I blew my knee out? You want to see my videos? They're on YouTube. Why aren't you subscribed? Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Because if I wanted to watch someone rehab from injury, I would watch one of the 48 seasons of The Amazing Dr. Pol. Like, I don't need to.
I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is.
Incredible Dr. Pol.
I'm Joshua Brisco. What is that?
What? I don't know what you're talking about. He's like
this really old Swedish veterinarian.
Okay.
And he rehabs animals.
I'm Charles Omenihu, and I am going to be $1 million impact player week 1. Week 1.
Look, that would be incredible.
Week 1.
Week 1.
Did you see me out there? I was out there coaching. I was another assistant coach out there. I was out there at OTAs. Yes, Anita, I was out there. I could have gotten a 3-point stance. I chose not to, okay? Because I'm Charles Omenihu. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Shout out to Mom. I'm gonna be there week 1.
So, Seth, the question we're all asking about the defensive line is, does another year make the group as a whole better or as a whole worse? Because I think that with Chris Jones, we're over an hour already. This is such a waste, but I'm even trying to do this. With Chris Jones, you assume don't clip this either, you assume that throughout an NFL player's late 20s and early 30s that they will decline slightly as time progresses. You would hope that redshirt Felix from last year would progress in a positive direction as he gets more NFL experience. Which of those Waits feels stronger. So that's true for a lot of the defense. That's true for the safety group in large part. Jaden Hicks in, Mike Edwards out. I don't know what that means. Seth's responding to comments instead of listening to my question. I don't even have the comments open, so I can't see what he's saying or who he's responding to. Sure to let Tucker do this episode too. I could be getting eaten by deer right now.
I'm listening.
He doesn't
swear I'm
respond
listening.
to me in a positive manner, and I helped his team win the Super Bowl last year.
I have tried to provide football analysis on Charles Omenihu rushing from 3-tech as opposed to D-end, and I am being Nate blocked. That's the thing that's happening to me right now. Please, Josh, I'm listening to you. Do I think them being together for another year helps them be better? Here's what I would say. I think Joe Cullen. I'm really sorry, man. I am.
No, you're not.
I am actually. I am completely flustered. I am warm. I am like.
Do you know how easy it is to just hit the private chat button in StreamYard and just sequester yourself away? It's hard to read comments and be present in the show. That's why
it's my job to help people have the information.
Yeah, and I think the best way for you to do it is to comment in response to one person while doing a live podcast. I think that's why all the great radio hosts often leave like 15 seconds of silence to directly text back to one texter. Like that's usually that's how you spread the most good information, I think.
I think so too. Give me another chance. I'm here. I'm literally warm.
Is there a unit on this defense that's better right now than it was last year? Like clearly in your mind.
Actively better.
Yeah.
Without projection and or hope, no. Now there are units that can be better. Karlaftis got better in his second year than he was in his first year. He's already kind of maxed out a little more than I thought he would. I thought he'd be a competent player, but he seems really determined. He's added stuff to his repertoire, and Dana's gotten a little better every single year. There's been a little more of a plateauing the last year or two with that. But really, what you are hoping for is Omenihu comes back fine. Jones is who he is. Karlaftis and Dana are both fine. And basically what you're saying is Karlaftis, if he gets better, again, which year 3, definitely not out of the question for a defensive tackle. I'm in the private chat now, by the way, or defensive end. Good Lord. See? But, Dana's better rushing from defensive tackle too, since we're on the subject. So you're basically hoping, though. You're hoping FAU develops. You're hoping he can add more than just be like a bit player. And that's really it. And it's the same with across the board. So like with the safeties, right? It's the same 3 guys that you maybe.
And we're talking about early season as opposed to late season, because losing Brian Cook is a big deal. Like that, just
right.
End of season to start of this season, Brian Cook is your biggest addition.
Absolutely. But you lose Mike Edwards, who was a significant contributor last year. And that's where, okay, if Cook is what he was last year, Connor was what he was last year, then you should be equivalent or maybe a little better because you're a little more athletic back there. If Jaden Hicks is what they're hoping he is, then you've added another chess piece, box safety type guy. So you might be a little bit better. Corner, it's almost impossible to stay the same when you lose an all-pro caliber player. Now, could they? They could be close. I like Watson. I like Williams. Both of them have improved both their years in the league. I like the other guys they have, but it's hard to do what they did last year and have a defense that's built from the corners. Linebackers, losing Willie Gay Jr., that's tough. He's really athletic. Might even say he's really athletic. Yeah. And so he's going to be tough to replace. But really, here's the thing that they did with the defense, by and large, that is tough to do. They had an elite defense last year, and by and large, they kept it together. That is incredibly difficult to do year to year. Edwards and Gay are important role players, but they're role players. Leo Chenal is going to be able to take some of those Sam snaps closer to the line of scrimmage. And when you're down to 2 linebackers and it's the will and you're in coverage, Drew Tranquil can do that. So in theory, should be okay. The safeties, again, maybe more athletic. So in theory, losing Edwards' experience, and he played well last year, should be okay. But it's a lot of projection at this point. And the Snead one is the really tough one. It is incredibly hard to keep an elite defense year by year simply because you really do need 11, 12, 13, 14 people to keep an elite defense because it's as much about avoiding weaknesses as it is having strengths. So the defense to me looks like on paper that it's taken a step back. It was built around Chris Jones, Trent McDuffie, and L'Jarius Sneed last year. Arguably not even in that order. It might have been Jones, Sneed, McDuffie. But it's back and forth. McDuffie did a ton. He's going to get so much more credit this year. I'm really excited. You don't have Sneed anymore. But you can build around Jones and McDuffie. But they're going to need Williams to take another step forward or Watson to take another step forward if they want to be built around that same, we are going to suffocate your receivers approach that they took last year.
I think that's something that we're going to be talking about so much throughout this offseason, and that will be fascinating once the year actually gets here. It is still May, which is alarming. Go ahead, Nate, what do you add there?
Lastly, I would just say, and that's the way the offseason was designed to go. The way this offseason was planned out in the avenues that the Chiefs chose is to give up a little bit on defense to gain quite a bit on offense.
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Yep. If you end up, someone commented, I switched back really quick, and someone's like, well, to be honest, Leo's better at defensive tackle too. That's a really funny comment. So I appreciate that.
What if we had a 6 lineman front?
How many defensive tackles?
And
so
Nick
there's
Bolton
Bear,
will just sweep everything behind him.
There's Bear, which is 5. Then there's Man Bear Pig, which is 6. And so I think the plan, you can see what they're trying to do. Okay, we really trust our cornerback depth. We like Johnson. He's coming back. We like what Nick Jones showed last year. What if we have a really, really, really good secondary instead of a really, 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 really good secondary? Everything else stays the same. We're 90% as good on defense as last year, but 150% better on offense. I'd take that deal.
Yeah. Last year they had the best secondary in the league. It was between them and Baltimore, and we saw what happened on the field. Because none of Baltimore's receivers could get open outside of one slip up from L'Jarius Sneed when he was like, okay, I made a mistake. Cool. I'll fix it accordingly.
Yeah, I'm going to knock that ball out of his hands in 2 plays.
Yeah, I'll fix that accordingly because I never give up deep completions, and what the hell just happened, you know?
Yeah. Baller.
So they had the best secondary in the league, and they proved that against the Ravens and obviously against the 49ers as well. But if they can still be a top 10 secondary, that gives you plenty of time to create pressure from Steve Spagnuolo and to have a dominant performance yet again from Chris Jones. So you got to give up something to get something. You can't have romance without finance. That's what my mom always told me. You want to take that girl out for chicken wings? You better have the finances. And the Chiefs have moved the money around so that the offense can be fully operational.
I wonder if Nick Bolton would be better at defensive tackle. You can read Seth's piece at the end of the newsletter.
He'd get everybody lined up.
He sure would. He sure would, including people behind him somehow. You can read his newsletter at mnchiefsfan.substack.com. Of course, Nate's work is all on The Athletic, but now you got to go to NewYorkTimes.com/everything else. So I don't know. You got to go fix your Nate Taylor author page bookmarks, and I'll have to do the same. That being said, we went long. I should be here for the remainder of the shows from various towns in Arizona, and hopefully I'll just continue to deliver new forms of cold opens. That I don't know if it'll be being attacked by other animals or Renee trying to push me into the Grand Canyon. I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get there.
Please don't, Renee. Please.
Boy, I got 2 really good looks at my 2 friends and the way they responded to that joke.
Please don't.
The audio audience who heard Nate say, please don't do that, Renee. What you may not have seen was Seth give the biggest thumbs up to his camera that he could possibly muster. So
with a big old smile.
You know, we agree and disagree on lots of things, like if Renee should push me into the Grand Canyon. Go ahead, Nate, get us out of here.
Okay, guys. Little cross promo. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you've heard, but the Kansas City Royals are back. Now, with that comes a slight bit of criticism. I remember Lima time. I remember Believe. Okay. I remember 1738. What was the insect again?
The rally mantis.
The rally mantis. I remember it all, baby. I remember it all. Ken Harvey got us to the All-Star break. Okay, I've been there. I've seen the Joe Randa tapes. All right, guys, we got to come up with a better. I know it's already on a T-shirt. We got to come up with something better than the boys are playing ball.
Whoa!
We got to come up with. We got to come up with something better. We got to come up with something. Bobby, we got to come up with something better. I mean, the boys are playing some ball. Of course you guys are. You're baseball players.
It's good to see the boys playing ball.
Come on! By the way, I went to the game on Tuesday night. Hearing Markel Garcia say, the boys are playing some ball. I was like, okay, maybe I'm in with the Latin flair. But I mean, come on, guys. We got to have a better phrase. How was this intimidating? Yes, Bobby Wood Jr. is coming for me. I'm sorry. But look, this is just a slight criticism. You guys are playing great.
The boys are playing some great ball.
How dare you? How? Yes.
The boys are playing.
Can we elevate it just a little? Because the boys are playing some ball on a T-shirt. Gives me more questions than excitement necessarily. But okay. I mean,
can you tell me specifically what kind of ball is being played?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Yeah. Why are you reporter types always asking those pressing follow-ups, Seth?
What specifically